Chapter 8: Teaching Methods That Work. Introduction. Theological educators in Africa face the crucial responsibility of not transmitting biblical knowledge, nurturing transformation in the lives of their students. To fulfill this calling, one must go beyond traditional lectures and adopt a repertoire of pedagogical methods that are contextually grounded, spiritually formative, and pedagogically sound. Teaching methods are the tools through which curriculum goals are realized. As Paulo Freire, 1970 and 2020 emphasized, education should not be a banking model of depositing information, but a dialogical process of co-creation and liberation, pedagogy of the oppressed. In the African theological context, effective teaching methods must engage both the mind and the heart, connect theory to ministry practice, and respond to the sociocultural complexities of the continent. This chapter examines proven methods, lecture, discussion, case study, experiential learning, role play, and hybrid technological models that are transformative when appropriately contextualized. We also explore what recent African and global educational scholars are saying about effective pedagogy in theological settings. Lecture, discussion, and case, balancing tradition and transformation. A. The lecture, informative but evolving. Lecturing remains a foundational method in theological education. It is efficient for covering large content and has deep roots in African ecclesiastical tradition, where orality and preaching are respected forms of authority. However, passive lectures often fail to stimulate critical thinking or spiritual transformation. Moye and Owuzu Ansah, 2022, argue that monologic lectures must evolve into dialogical spaces where students co-participate in meaning-making. A good lecture, therefore, is structured, illustrated with real-life examples, punctuated by questions, and guided by visuals. Best practices for lectures are: begin with a story or local proverb to contextualize. Include 5 to 10 minutes pauses for reflection or group discussion. Use visuals and analogies that reflect African realities. B. Discussion, critical thinking through dialogue. Discussions encourage students to wrestle with theological issues in community, promote active engagement and critical analysis. Brookfield and Preskill, 2016, discussion as a way of teaching notes that discussions increase student motivation and help develop democratic classroom practice. African theological institutions, where students come from diverse ethnic, denominational, and economic backgrounds, benefit significantly from this method. To foster effective discussion, 1. Frame open-ended theological questions. Example: what does reconciliation look like in post-conflict African societies? 2. Assign readings ahead of class and ask students to lead the discussion. 3. Set ground rules for respectful dialogue. C. Case study, theology in real life. Case studies allow learners to apply biblical principles to real-life ministry situations. In theological education, case studies may include ethical dynamics in church leadership, doctrinal conflicts in syncretic communities, responses to poverty or gender-based violence. Jaseman, 2021, emphasizes the value of concrete pastoral to stimulate integrative theological thinking. Handbook for theological educators in the majority world. This method helps bridge the gap between theory and practice. Experiential learning, role play, and field practicum. Learning by doing. A. Experiential learning, engagement that transforms. Experiential learning is based on David Kopp's learning cycle: experience, reflection, conceptualization, and experimentation. It is particularly effective in African theological education, where oral tradition, community experiences, and lived spirituality dominate. Mutafsindi and Baluyi, 2023, affirm theological learning should be immersive and reflective, rooted in real-life experiences. Journal of African Theological Thought. Examples include: 1. Participating in community development projects. 2. Conducting evangelism or healing ministry in local settings. Visiting mosques, shrines, or syncretistic churches for interfaith learning. Educators must guide students through post-experience debriefs to extract theological insight and practical experiences. B. Role play, practicing ministry in safe spaces. Role playing helps students internalize ministry roles and respond to complex pastoral challenges. It is especially useful for teaching, counseling and pastoral care, preaching and liturgy, conflict resolution. For instance, students can act out a situation where a church elder is accused of misconduct, and the class must stimulate a response grounded in scripture and church politics. Ngugi wa Thion's insistence on performance as pedagogy in African education underscores the role of embodiment and dramatization in learning. Decolonizing the Mind, 2020 edition. C. Field practicum, theology in context. Field practicum or supervised ministry is indispensable. It provides opportunities for real-life ministry exposure under the mentorship of pastors or chaplains. Students must reflect on church leadership dynamics, community engagement, intercultural community. Vandenberg 2020 proposes the integration of theological reflection journal during practicum as a means of synthesizing learning with practice. Technology and hybrid learning models. Digital theology for the African classroom. Digital access and limitations in Africa. While internet penetration is increasing, many African seminaries still struggle with digital infrastructure. However, with mobile phone accessibility and creative solutions like WhatsApp classrooms and offline learning apps, technology is becoming increasingly viable. Tieno and Bediako Center 2021 highlights the importance of leveraging mobile platforms to reach dispersed students and reduce urban migration to theological hubs. B. Hybrid models and online engagement. Blended learning combines face-to-face interaction with digital engagement. This model is ideal for part-time students and pastors in training, continuing theological education, cross-border theological programs. Recommended tools: Google Classroom, a model for course materials, Zoom for real-time lectures, WhatsApp or Telegram groups for ongoing discussion, YouTube for student sermon uploads and peer critique. Anaga 2022 cautions, however, that digital theological education must maintain spiritual community and formation, not just content delivery. International review of research in open and distributed integrating methods for holistic impact. The most effective theological educators do not rely on a single method, but integrate several in a spiral curriculum, moving from knowledge acquisition to deep theological reflection and practical application. Sample integrated session plan. Topic: Forgiveness and reconciliation. Lecture: Biblical theology of forgiveness. Discussion: Post-genocide forgiveness in Rwanda. Case study: Pastor dealing with family division. Role play: Counseling a victim of injustice. Field engagement: Interview local reconciliation leaders. Digital component: Watch a documentary and respond online. Conclusion: The African theological educator must be both pedagogically wise and theologically grounded. Teaching methods are not neutral tools. They either reinforce traditional power structure or liberate the learner for kingdom service. In a continent full of spiritual hunger, socio-political complexity, and emerging digital realities, teaching must be contextual, dialogical, and transformative. Effective teaching methods are not about novelty, they are about fidelity to the learner, faithfulness to scripture, and relevance to the African context. As Jesus taught with parables, questions, meals, and miracles, so must we adopt diverse tools to teach Christ in all things. Conclusion: Effective theological teaching in Africa must move beyond content delivery to become a holistic, transformative experience. While lectures provide structure and foundational knowledge, they must be enriched with methods that encourage dialogue, critical thinking, and active engagement. Discussions, case studies, and role plays not only make learning interactive, but also allow students to embody the gospel in real-world scenarios. Experiential and field-based learning ensures that theology is not confined to the classroom, but tested and lived in the mission fields, urban communities, and local churches across Africa. Moreover, the incorporation of technology, where access broadens the educator's reach and empowers students to engage theological content flexibly and creatively. However, no method is a silver bullet. The key lies in intentional integration, aligning each teaching method with clear learning outcomes, contextual realities, and spiritual goals. As theological educators, we are not merely information givers, but formation shepherds. Our teaching methods must reflect the heart of Christ, who taught with compassion, relevance, creativity, and power. In the words of African educator and theologian Bian Keto, Christian theology must remain biblical, practical, and relevant to the African society. That relevance begins not just in what we teach, but how we teach. As we embrace teaching methods that truly work, may we raise a generation of ministers, missionaries, and scholars who are not only knowledgeable, but deeply transformed and ready to transform others.